Hello, it's Empress LuxAse. Please like and subscribe. Thank you to those that already do. If you like exclusive content, check out the members section and my Patreon. But this video today is for Blueface's astrological profile. Doing a couple of astrology videos because I'm getting into it, but I will be doing tarot readings as well still too. Now, his chart is, it's pretty, with the readings I've been doing, it makes perfect sense to me. Starting with, I actually was able to find a lot of charts on him online, which is very helpful. His sun sign is Aquarius, but he's at 0 degrees. Is it between 0 to 49 degrees for his sun sign? Oh, if you don't know, Blueface is a rapper, Jonathan Porter, Jonathan Jamal Porter, January 20th, 1997. He was born in Los Angeles, California. He's a rapper, songwriter, known for his unique rapping style and his hits, or his hit by Tiana. So yeah, his sun sign is an Aquarius. And interestingly enough, his moon sign is a Gemini, which is so we just left Jupiter in Gemini. So he should have received some sort of expansion. Moons typically represent the home setting, but expansion could be bad or good. And we see, for the most part, he's been locked up. So that's where Jupiter technically blessed him at. He's at 29 degrees to 40 degrees with that. His Mercury is in Capricorn, 6 degrees, between 6 to 38 degrees, which makes perfect sense because when I'm done readings on him, he sometimes shows up as the King of Pentacles, which is Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn energy, and he's all about the money. Most Capricorns, all they focus on is money. They're very practical. And Mercury is communication style. So typically, that's all you really hear Blueface communicating about. His Venus is also in Capricorn. Venus is how you love, kind of. So his love is for money. Like, so how he talks, his Venus is in Capricorn. It's just really funny. His communication style and his Venus is like how you love, what you love, and it's in Capricorn. So this makes perfect sense to me. His Mars is in Libra, which is interesting because Jane and Alexis is a Libra sun. Yeah, it's interesting. So the Capricorn for the Venus is 13 degrees between 17 degrees, and then his Mars Libra placement is between 4 degrees and 24 degrees. His Jupiter is also in Capricorn too. Between 29 degrees and 48 degrees. His chart is all about the mayans. His Saturn is in Aries. Saturn is the teacher. This is where those hard lessons come in. And I find that interesting too, because Krishan's Mars placement is in Aries. So looking at this is like he was meant to come into Krishan's life to teach her those hard lessons. So that's at 2 degrees between 27 degrees. His Uranus is in Aquarius, but that's between 4 degrees and 25 degrees. His Neptune is in Capricorn too, between 27 degrees and 34 degrees. His Pluto is in Sagittarius. If I'm not mistaken, I think Krishan's Pluto was in Sagittarius too, between 4 degrees and 58 degrees. His North Node is in Libra, same as Jada, between 2 degrees and 0. So in tarot lately, for some reason, when I do readings and I touch on Jade and Alexis, what Spirit always tells me is her destiny, like what's meant for Blueface is meant for her. So that's interesting that he has a couple of Libra placements in his chart. And his South Node is in Aries between 2 degrees and 0 degrees. So he got a little fire now, mostly earth sign placements. So with his chart, it does show that he's not stupid. He does have an intellectual curiosity. He can adapt emotion-wise, and he has a strong sense of just being who he is. He could also be innovative and loves to stand out, which the Blueface unconventional approach to music. That makes sense. Now, the Gemini moon does indicate a need for him to have mental stimulation and versatility, meaning he could get bored really quickly, especially when it comes to matters of his emotion. Now, the Capricorn placements with Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune suggests that he's very practical and disciplined when it comes to communication, love, and ambition. He doesn't fall in love too easy. Like, he's very practical. It has to make sense to him. So yeah, the sun in Aquarius, that's, signifies he likes to be original and very forward thinking mindset. So like I always said, he's not stupid. He just tends to use his smartness for the wrong things. The moon in Gemini, that's, he's really able to adapt emotion wise, but there's a need for variety when it comes to that placement. The dual nature of the Gemini moon, which, as we see, he can't really stay committed to one woman. And I mean, Aquarius men I've met have kind of been like that. Like, they need more than one woman. And then a Mercury in Capricorn, he has a structured thinking process and communicates very clearly. And a Venus in Capricorn suggests that how he looks at relationships is more so a serious and committed approach. However, he still wants a variety because of the moon in Gemini. His Mars in Libra reflects a desire for harmony and balance in actions. And now the Jupiter in Capricorn will point to him wanting growth through discipline and responsibility. And now his Saturn in Aries, this was, show that he challenges himself by taking initiative. And then the Uranus in Aquarius will reinforce him having a strong inclination towards innovation and change. Very forward moving. And then the Neptune in Capricorn would show that his dreams and ideas are grounded in reality and practical. He's not delusional. And then the Pluto in Sagittarius would, show that he transforms through exploring things and more philosophy pursuits. His North Node in Libra was actually clarify his life purpose, which involves finding balance and harmony in relationships. So his path, just looking at his chart, involves him balancing his desire for being who he is and the need for him to make meaningful connections and personal growth. So his chart has like a blend of creativity, discipline, and a quest for understanding, which kind of connects the dots with his artistic endeavors and personal life, I would say. Now the sun in Aquarius is his core essence. That's his individuality and him not wanting to be conventional. He's actually very smart. He thinks about the future, very innovative. So his music career would be definitely very unconventional, which that's what we've seen. This aligns with his Aquarian traits, and he has a desire to stand out and innovate in the music industry. His challenges because of his sun placement would be his desire for independence, which could lead to him just showing up very detached, emotionally distant. And he will have issues, which we see with forming deep emotional connections due to him being very intellectual. So this will make him very distant to some people, like almost cold. Now, the moon in Gemini, the moon represents our inner world, our emotions and subconscious. So his emotional life, which we see, is marked by restlessness and him just trying to always adapt. He thrives on mental stimulation. Gemini placements are some of the most smartest people. So for that to be his moon sign, this means he needs to seek variety in his emotional experiences. Like, one woman would never be good enough for him. He will find comfort in communication, intellectual pursuits, and engaging in multiple activities at once. Very, listen, polyamorous, I think that's the term for it. The challenges with this moon would lead him to emotional inconsistency or tendency to overthink, which will make it difficult for him to feel emotionally grounded. So his need for mental stimulation will actually lead him to being emotionally detached or a tendency to avoid deep emotional connection, emotional blockages. Now his Mercury in Capricorn, he approaches thinking and communication in a very practical way. So he expresses himself with authority, structure, and clarity, like very bossy. But it's in his chart, he's supposed to be a boss. But this placement makes him think very strategic. So if he hadn't become a rapper, he would have probably been good with like marketing something, which he does a lot of marketing with the circus, whether you like it or not. A lot goes behind all that mess. So this also suggests that his career in music would have come from his disciplined approach to the craft, even if it seems unconventional, whether you like his music or not. Now, the challenges with the Capricorn Mercury would be that sometimes he comes off as serious or overly cautious in communication, which will lead to people misunderstanding or just in general misunderstandings with those who prefer a more lighthearted or spontaneous approach. Now, his Venus in Capricorn, This is the love and relationships. So this, represents how he approaches love, beauty, and pleasure. So with his Venus and Capricorn, which I touched on briefly earlier, he takes a serious and committed approach to relationships, but he values stability, loyalty, and long-term success in his personal life. So this placement indicates he has a preference for practical, grounded expressions of love. Like, he don't want you doing too much. And he will be drawn to partners who are ambitious, responsible, and mature. That is what would turn him on as far as emotion. Now, his challenge with this placement would lead him to have a tendency to suppress emotions or to have a more reserved, cautious approach to relationships, not trusting everybody or everyone. That's the same thing, or everything. So he would struggle with expressing his feelings openly, especially in public settings. But behind closed doors, you possibly get more from him. Now, with his Mars in Libra, this is his drive and ambition. So this is how he asserts himself. So he's likely to have a strong desire for harmony, balance, and fairness. Despite what we see behind the scenes, so very diplomatic, charming. I mean, I guess he got a little charm. And he negotiates rather than directly confront something. So in terms of his career, this would suggest that he's motivated by creating balance in his life and would seek a partner or a collaborator who will help him achieve his goals, which is why Krishan would be more so of his match when it comes to his Mars in Libra. Or just someone that coincides with his dreams, his visions, who can help him go get that money. Now, the challenges with this placement would be that he could sometimes lead to indecision or difficulty in taking action without consulting others. So he will also struggle with standing up for himself, as this placement tends to avoid conflict in favor of peace, which is interesting. That's interesting because we be seeing him go at some people. So with the Jupiter in Capricorn, this is all about growth and expansion. So this represents how he expands and grows. So his path to success was very likely through very hard work, discipline, and perseverance. So this suggests that his growth came through structure and responsibility. Like, he just had a deep-seated desire to achieve something lasting and tangible in his life. He set his mind on his career and went for it. Now, the challenges with this placement could be he would be overly cautious or pessimistic about taking risks. So therefore, would be a tendency to focus on long-term goals at the expense of present enjoyment or opportunities. So almost like at some point he would rather work and focus on his projects than really have fun. Now, his Saturn in Aries is, like I said, Saturn is the teacher in astrology. This is lessons and restrictions. It's the hard lessons. So his Saturn, represents challenges, restrictions, and lessons in life. So with Saturn in Aries, he's likely to have experienced struggles around asserting himself, finding his voice, taking initiative, or being a leader. He may have felt challenged when it came to taking bold steps or facing conflict head on. But this placement also offered him opportunities for growth and learning how to confidently and independently move forward in life. The challenges with this placement is that he could have manifested a fear of failure or hesitation in initiating action. So sometimes he was scared with a sense of impatience or frustrations when things don't move as quickly as he would like. Now, his Uranus in Aquarius is all about innovation and change. This talks about rebellion and sudden changes. This would enforce his Aquarian traits even more so, making him naturally inclined towards being unorthodox or ideas of that nature. Rebellion and, breaking the mold. He doesn't want people to figure him out with this placement. You're not going to be really able to figure him out. His music and career would be a reflection of this placement more so, and it would be constantly challenging traditional norms and presenting new unconventional ways of doing things. So he's a trendsetter. The challenges with his placement will bring sudden, unexpected changes or disruptions in his life, which we see. He would experience moments of feeling out of place or misunderstood, especially if his unique approach doesn't resonate with the mainstream, which we see. A lot of people, don't understand the whole Blueface circus situations. Now, his Neptune and Capricorn talks about the dreams, the fogginess, wearing rose-colored glasses, spirituality and illusion. So Capricorn, he's not too delulu. This placement suggested that his dreams and ideas will be grounded in reality and practicality. He would have a strong sense of ambition and would be driven to build something lasting and tangible. There would likely to be a connection between his artistic visions and a practical, disciplined approach to achieving them. The challenges with this placement would be sometimes his visions would result in disillusionment when idealistic dreams clash with harsh realities. He would struggle with balancing his dreams with practical limitations. So, I mean, I guess that would be, you know, more so like Blueface thinks highly of himself, while some other people may feel like, why? That's the best way I can explain that. His Pluto in Sagittarius is, you know, more so a transformation of power and deep psychological changes. So with this placement, his transformations will come through exploring, expansion of his mind, and philosophy. Uh, he would experience like very intense transformations tied to his belief system with travel or exposure to new and different cultures. But with this placement, he would have the challenges would be his extreme views or experiences, especially when it comes to matters of belief, education, or philosophy. So he would sometimes feel torn between what's real and what's not, and the harsh truths of reality. Now his North Node in Libra is his life purpose. So that goes back to what I've been getting in the readings when I touch on Jade and Lexus and him. Their destinies are connected. His life purpose, the North Node, represents his soul's purpose in his lifetime. So with that North Node in Libra, his Blueface growth lies in him building relationships, meeting people, being diplomatic, and finding harmony and balance in relationships, and also learn how to balance who he is with the Aquarius sun and connecting with others in a meaningful, balanced way. Now, his challenges with that is with his cooperation and compromise. It would challenge him to move away from being self-centered and toward a more collaborative approach to life. Like, it's not just about you, Blueface, it's also about other people. So very independent person here. His life path does involve, you know, balancing his strong drive for independence with the need for balanced relationships with the Aquarius sun and the Libra North Node. He will experience, which we've seen, periods of inner conflict, especially around his freedom and his desire for freedom, which we see he's locked up, and his need for emotional connection. His Capricorn placements indicate that he will actually build his success on foundation of discipline, hard work, and ambition. But with that Gemini moon and Uranus and Aquarius, it show that mental stimulation and innovation will be key to his emotional fulfillment and creativity. So, actually, you know, his personal and professional growth will evolve, finding his ways to show who Blueface is as an individual and collaborating, I mean, he's collaborated with a lot of artists. Like going back to Tatiana, I feel like it blew up really more so when Cardi B jumped on it. So that's a collaboration. And then he has creativity and structure while navigating the challenges of asserting himself and maintaining emotional stability, which we saw him go through some sort of emotional issues and that nature. So there's a need for him to keep his emotional stability balanced. Uh, Now as far as him experiencing risks or challenges related to his longevity, it would definitely be something around his Saturn and Aries. This would indicate challenges related to asserting himself and taking bold actions. It isn't indicative of death, but it does point to him learning life lessons, which coincides with the readings I've done where he needs to learn life lessons, particularly with his placement around responsibility, boundaries, and authority. He does have issues with authority. Individuals with the Saturn Aries often experience delays or difficulties when it comes to self-assertion and taking charge, which will lead to accidents or health risks if they struggle with impulsiveness or lack caution, which is why I've always said I hope he learns the lesson, because if not, the consequences will be crazy. And then also that placement he has in Pluto and Sagittarius, which is a planet of transformation, is often linked to life-changing events, power, and sometimes destruction. So this is, suggests that he will experience profound transformation related to beliefs, travel, or philosophy, which could also bring him to situations at risk. Hypothetically speaking, say for instance, if he travels somewhere, he could get in a certain type of situation. So it's not necessarily predictive of death, but it would bring intense life-altering events for him. So, or transformative or sometimes risky experiences or situations that will make him see his life flash before his eyes type of thing. And then with this moon in Gemini, this, like I said, represents the emotional bond and subconscious. So with his emotional state, it could be highly fluctuating, which we see in unstable at times, which we have seen. This would contribute to mental stress or issues with emotional regulation for Blueface. So this could cause stress-related illnesses or accidents that could be linked to emotional instability, especially if he's prone to overthinking or avoiding emotional resolution. And then he also has a placement in Mars and Libra, which could cause issues for him. This will cause issues because the need for him to avoid conflict or make compromises would lead him to frustration, with him unable to act decisively or make a decision. So in extreme cases, this can manifest as an internalized frustration that will lead to health issues or inability to take action in critical moments. And in a couple of the tarot readings I've gotten, health issues for him. So I hope he gets that in check. And then he does have some other challenging aspects of transits between Pluto, Saturn, or any, other malefic planets that could indicate stress or potential risk. I'm gonna say there's no significant early death risk. He does have some transits and progressions that provides insight into challenging periods in his life. And then also with the North Node in Libra, this suggests that his soul's evolutionary path to purpose points to the importance of balanced relationships and finding peace in life. Like, the whole God sent him down being locked up. He's supposed to learn his lesson. I hope he did. This also suggests struggles with finding harmony or not addressing relationship imbalances will be a source of stress or health related issues later on for him. So at his chart, he has struggles with health and personal challenges, but for him, his issues are more so around life lessons and personal growth rather than like, something fatal happening. Even though I have saw in tarot that something could potentially happen to him, but based on his chart, it would be more so things centered around life lessons and him needing to grow. So yeah, he does need to work on that stress and health risk, and find balance in his assertiveness, especially with that Saturn Aries. Because that trait could alone by itself could manifest in stress related illnesses, mental health issues, or accidents. When it's like when he's trying to assert his dominance, he could actually cause an accident for himself. So he needs to move forward with caution. And I've had a warning for him in tarot, so it's here too. He sometimes struggles with being impulsive, impatient, or difficulty with authority. So he needs just to be more healthy in the structure ways, do mindful practices, and set clear goals. And, with that Pluto and Sagittarius, him trying to transform would at sometimes feel destructive at times. But, him traveling and his philosophy and higher learning could definitely bring more intense life experiences for him. And it would come unexpectedly and cause emotional or psychological stress. So, he needs therapy and spiritual practice, definitely, which came out in him and Krishan's synastry chart as well. That could help him cope with deep transformative events that he would experience. Like I said, I feel like there's other things that is supposed to take place when he's released. So meditating or journaling would definitely help him. And then, that moon in Gemini, I just see stress all over his chart. Stress related health problems or just like mentally being exhausted. Like, I'm just tired. So he needs to ground himself to really reduce that mental chatter. And that is funny because in the last reading I did for him, I saw where like somebody's doing something to mess with someone's crown chakra, third eye, intuition, that type of thing, to cause mental conflict. So this is an indicator that he would be prone to someone throwing him some sort of evil eye, and would cause him even more issues because it's already a prevalent issue for him. So, and then with the Mars in Libra, this will lead to him just really not making decisions, even when there's a need for him to compromise. So that internal conflict between wanting peace and taking bold action could lead to frustration and him having passive aggressive behavior, which we see. So he just really needs to set clear boundaries. Also, do regular activity, which I've seen him box before. So boxing actually helps him channel that energy constructively. So he should definitely get back to boxing when he gets home. Now the Neptune and Capricorn, he needs to balance dreams with reality. He's not too delusional, but because most of his dreams are grounded in practical reality because of that placement. But he could feel disillusioned if those dreams take longer to manifest. So he would struggle with aligning his ideas with the reality of what the situation is when it comes to fame, success, or responsibility, which will lead to more frustration and stress. So he really needs a grounded spiritual practice. That would definitely help him. And you know, the Jupiter in Capricorn, he doesn't mind working hard and being disciplined to get what he wants, but it would come at the cost of enjoying the present moment. So that's a problem there. He shouldn't become overly focused on long-term goals and miss out on the rewards of his efforts, enjoying the present moment too. So he needs to actually find joy in the small victories, take breaks, enjoy times with his loved ones. Prison time, like I've always said, actually was good for him. He needed to be sat down. This will help reduce the pressure that comes from his placement and really just relax, you know, reflect, go on some vacation. And the North Node in Libra, you know, I do see he will actually evolve through creating more balanced, harmonious relationships. And he needs to collaborate and compromise, see things from other people's perspective, not just his own. But it will still somehow be a source of emotional strain if he doesn't approach it mindfully. So I see a lot of significant life events outside of him being locked up, which I've mentioned. But with that Saturn transiting over his son, this was a time of serious self-reflection or facing limitations in his career with him being locked up. And then a Pluto transiting over his moon would have brought him into a deep emotional shift and potentially causing psychological stress. And then the Uranus transiting over his Mercury would have brought sudden changes in how he communicates, abuses word, linked to both excitement and uncertainty, which some people would say sometimes some of the messages we seen from him, what? He just said this, now you're saying this. And now he has to communicate through video chat, video live, and those things. So he still has some more stuff happening for him. To be honest, he needs to develop a more structured routine, express himself more healthier with his emotions, and avoid overworking. So let me see what else I More than likely, he's trying to figure out how he could do damage control after his legal situation, especially with that lawsuit. I think, what's the guy named? Soldier Boy's baby mother sued him and won, but he was locked up. So he could be working on something to help with that situation once he gets out. He still got some major transits for him. For this year, his key dates were, well, from late 2024 to mid 2025. He had the Saturn and Pisces, which definitely tested his public image and his karma. Karma came into play for him. So, and when we saw that, this was definitely spiritual reckoning and lessons in emotional maturity. But with tarot, I see more karma coming for him. With that Saturn transiting his natal Neptune, this, you know, indicated disillusionment, limitations, or karmic consequences regarding fame, delusion, and him escapism. So definitely that mirrors all the legal issues he had his time in prison. But he's going through a karmic clearing where he'll be forced to grow emotionally and spiritually, and I really hope he's learned a lesson. This is a major period for him for eternal restructuring. So he's now reassessing what's real and who he trusts and what legacy he's building. So that makes sense. And one of the reasons I did, I was like, Blueface, get your house in order. Make sure if something was to happen, make sure your kids are good. So it actually coincides with his chart. So with Pluto in Aquarius, this is like radical reinvention, era of truth. So as Pluto enters more so into Aquarius, it begins to trine his Gemini moon and sextile his Sagittarius Pluto, which offers him the opportunity for deep personal transformation. We can see him try to rebrand and new collaborations as well. So this is building up now to all the way 2026. So I kind of feel like he's going to try to reinvent himself musically, spiritually, or through his relationships. I almost feel like he could come back a little bit more mature and wiser for Blueface. And then Uranus in the Taurus, I could see unexpected changes in his finances or values as well. Almost like a mid-20s crisis for him. So he's being forced to break free from old structures, which include his past image, toxic relationships, money habits, or contracts. So this will often bring unexpected events, especially financially. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more surprise lawsuits, settlements, or investments for him with that placement. Now, with the North Node in Aries, the North Node moved into Aries this year and approached his natal Saturn in Aries. So this put his destiny and pressure on his masculine role, leadership, and independence. So he would have been called to take accountability for his actions, i.e. him being locked up, maturing how he handles responsibility, and possibly separate from people situations that hold him back. A lot of self-evaluations. Now, as far as relationship and drama, the Chiron and Lilith, that Chiron in Aries activates wounds around masculinity, fatherhood, and identity. Now, I know he seems like so masculine, but there's something about his chart that questions his masculinity. This brings up things from, his conflicts with Sean Rock and their child, Junior. So the Black Moon in Lilith, Virgo, opposite his Pisces placements will fuel public scandals or possibly reveal more secrets in 2025, which I've been getting in the tarot. So, he's going to have to choose whether he wants to perpetrate chaos or step into healing. What is he going to do with certain information that he actually has behind the scenes? All right. If you've been following me, we've touched on that. So, growth and maturity, a major karmic cycle for him is closing. So I see him just really doing a lot of introspection. He does have the potential for emotional evolution. It's on him what he do with it. I see a rebrand and a shift for his image late this year in 2026, because he has support with Pluto for that. So I feel like he may get more serious, more introspective, and more creative. Now, as for his relationships, he has the opportunity to heal and end toxic cycles if he wants. His destiny is forcing him to mature emotionally. Can't play around with destiny. As for legal and financial issues, I do see some sort of unexpected cost settlements or changes in earnings are possible. He needs to restructure financially. Now, I do see a possible spiritual path for him. Now, he's being asked to drop his ego and delusion and tune into a higher path or purpose. If he ignores it, this will only bring him more chaos, which that has shown up in the tarot readings for him. Him and Krishan, I did a century chart on their relationship. Very emotional, spiritual, and a very chaotic relationship. They do have a deep soul bond energy, but there's a lack of boundaries and escapism that dominates more so. They feel faded and even karmically tied to one another. And both of them are deeply intuitive and emotional, but they also create a lot of confusion, delusion, and addictions between these two. And yeah, and that's the composite sun in Pisces that they have. And then a composite moon in Scorpio is a lot of emotional intensity at the core of that connection. Deep loyalty. Would people be like, girl, why are you doing? I'm getting his jewelry out the pawn shop. There's a deep loyalty between these two, even though, at least on Blueface side, we sometimes don't see it. But the deep loyalty is sometimes overshadowed with obsession, jealousy, and control issues. And I read they said that she chart, the exception is mutual. The breakups will never be clean between these two. The bond will stay alive emotionally, even when they separate physically. This is definitely a case study of a trauma bond energy. When not healed, they trigger each other's deepest insecurities. Now, with their Venus in Aries and Mars in Pisces, very passionate, raw love, but competitive, impulsive relationship. And then the composite Mars in Pisces for them is a very passive, aggressive anger, a spiritual sex connection. Like, I'm wondering, do they even know when they have sex? I'm not gonna. That's another conversation for another day. And also emotionally detaching during conflict. This is love is just very hot and cold. When it's good, it's passionate. When it's bad, it's manipulative, emotionally draining, and quite violent, which we see. Then the Saturn conjunct Jupiter and Taurus, it grounds the relationship, but in Taurus, it clings to familiar routines and material stability, even if they're unhealthy. So this goes back to the tarot readings. Their relationship is very much built on clout and money. So, and it's because of the Saturn conjunct Jupiter in Taurus. Because if I'm not mistaken, Krishan's Jupiter is in Taurus. So they get money together and it's a potential to make more. But the rest of the relationship is not that healthy. So Jupiter would expand their share of values and money, but with Saturn nearby, abundance will only be possible if they're disciplined and serious by growth. Then they have the Chiron and Sagittarius, which is a wounded expansion. They wound each other around freedom, beliefs, and public image. So even though they help each other make money, They also are each other's Achilles heel. If y'all know, you know. Their wounds often played out in front of others, which we see in social media, court interviews. Now, their composite forecast between 2024 2026, they had Saturn, and will be having Saturn transiting their composite Sun and Mercury. So this is a make or break phase. Harsh reality is going to set in. They're going to have to face the emotional damage, lies, and codependency. Saturn being on their Sun, tough decisions are going to need to be made. Saturn on Mercury, communication breakdowns are possible. Legal or custody battles. Y'all heard it here first, okay? And they may emotionally or physically separate unless they're both committed to serious healing work. I've seen that in their synergy chart, and I'm seeing this in the composite chart. So, and then the Pluto sextile composite moon between this year and 2006. There is a potential for emotional transformation. This could be either a rebirth of their relationship through therapy, healing, and honesty, or an emotional purge that will permanently sever the tie that they do have. So, with that Uranus square composite Venus, it does highlight, you know, sudden breakups and reconciliations too, and unpredictable public drama, which we see. So, Blueface and Cashapp may seek freedom from this relationship, but the intensity makes it hard for both of them to walk away completely. So they got the karmic bond, the public mirror, the potential outcome. This is a soul tie, but it's not meant to last too much in a 3D. There's a lesson of self-worth, boundaries, and release. They mirror each other's trauma. So we know we're watching them. What we're watching and seeing is a part of their karma. Fame amplifies their shadow. If they do not heal, this relationship will collapse under legal, emotional, and mental pressure by late this year. So if they both do healing work, they could evolve into, you know, being co-parents or spiritual collaborators with boundaries. If so, I'm say intuitively and looking at this chart between the Pluto moon transformation, they're either going to really do some deep healing, or there's going to be a complete emotional cutoff. Like they're not going to be able to stand each other, or one person is going to emotionally cut off the other person. And because Saturn makes the soul, Saturn is the teacher. Saturn's going to give them a test, and they're going to get a soul test. So past 2026, if they survive this phase in 2025, this relationship could stabilize with new turns, or otherwise likely involved separately but karmically still connected. So that's what I have. That was a lot. That was a lot. That is what I have. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.